didn't read the subtext, and I said that it was okay, I'll walk away. And so we find ourselves back at the square one. It wasn't ever confusing until you started giving me signals, and I walked away wondering how did it ever get so quickly disintegrating. Pain was not a master, yeah. And it was a party that night. I was so drunk, but I remember what you said. Don't drive me home unless I get mad, unless you want me back. You better pour your heart out and I did. So you got even drunker and you made every excuse you could just to walk away from me and find another man. And so I had much of opportunity to self-reflect, and I took it for the instinct that there'll never be another person like you who would appreciate me. You were the one who will hurt me repeatedly.